You've definitely seen those signs, right? No MSG added. It's got to be one of the most controversial ingredients out there. But what if the whole story we've been told is wrong? What if the story of MSG isn't about some scary chemical, but about a brilliant scientific discovery, a huge misunderstanding, and now a surprising new mission to make our food healthier? Let's get into the real story behind MSG.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll start at the very beginning with its delicious discovery. Then we're going to dive right into the controversy. After that, we'll look at the actual science of how it works on your tongue, get the final word on its safety from global experts, and wrap up with its surprising new job and what the future of flavor looks like.
All right, let's rewind the clock. We're going back over 100 years to Japan. And this story doesn't kick off in some fancy, high-tech lab. Nope, it starts with a simple question asked over a bowl of soup.
Seriously, this is the question that a Japanese chemist, Professor Kikunae Ikeda, just couldn't shake back in 1908. He was eating a bowl of dashi, that seaweed broth his wife made, and he realized it had this amazing savory flavor that wasn't sweet, salty, sour, or bitter. He just knew he was onto something big, a totally new fifth taste.
Now, the basic component, glutamic acid, had actually been found decades before, but Ikeda was the one who made the connection to taste. He managed to pull it out of the seaweed, stabilize it with a little sodium, creating monosodium glutamate, and he gave this incredible new taste a name, umami. Just a year later, it hit the shelves as Ajinomoto, which means essence of taste, and just like that, a global industry was born.
For years, MSG was a hit all around the world. But then, in the late 1960s, the story took a really sharp, dark turn. What was once a celebrated discovery suddenly became one of the most feared ingredients in food history. So, how did this happen?
It all started right here. In 1968, a doctor, Robert Holman Kwok, wrote a letter to a very prestigious medical journal. In it, he described these symptoms he felt after eating at Chinese-American restaurants. He threw out a few theories and mentioned MSG as just one possibility. In that letter, he casually coined the phrase Chinese restaurant syndrome. And that one letter was all it took. It was like lighting a match. The media went wild with the story, and public fear just exploded. Pretty soon, those no MSG signs were everywhere. The thing you have to understand is that this whole panic was built on personal stories, anecdotes, not on solid, repeatable scientific evidence. Okay, so with all that fear and confusion swirling around, let's just cut through the noise. What is actually happening on a biological level when you taste MSG? It's time to separate the myth from the science.
So the star of the show here is umami.
And let's be clear, this is not some artificial made-up flavor. It's one of the 5 basic tastes our bodies are hardwired to recognize. It's basically a signal that we're eating proteins, which are super important. It's that rich, savory, satisfying flavor in things like Parmesan cheese, ripe tomatoes, or a good steak. Okay, so here's the play-by-play. When you eat MSG, it breaks down into sodium and glutamate. First, that glutamate molecule fits perfectly into special receptors on your tongue. Think of it like a key sliding into a lock. Next, that connection kicks off a chain reaction inside the cell. And finally, that reaction fires off a signal straight to your brain that says, hey, this is savory. It's a completely natural process.
But here's where MSG gets its real superpower. It doesn't just work alone. It has this amazing ability to team up with other natural compounds, stuff you find in meats, fish, and mushrooms. And together, they take flavor to a whole other level.
And check this out. When glutamate gets together with these other compounds, they can boost that umami taste by 8 times, sometimes even more. It's not just adding flavor, it's multiplying it. This is exactly why a tiny dash of MSG can make a beef stew taste so much richer and more, beefy. It just makes the flavors that are already there pop.
So we've got the history, and we've got the science, but that still leaves the biggest question of all. The one that started this whole mess in the first place, is it actually safe to eat? Let's see what decades of global research have to say.
This is it. This is the question that's been at the center of the debate for over 50 years. After all the fear, all the headlines, the scientific community has looked into this from every possible angle.
And the verdict? It comes from the absolute top. We're talking the heavy hitters, the US FDA, the World Health Organization, and a whole list of other major food safety authorities around the world. They all took a hard look at all the available evidence. And you know what? Their conclusion is unanimous. The FDA officially lists MSG as generally recognized as safe, or GRAS. It's actually had that status since 1958. Study after study, the really good ones, the double-blind, placebo-controlled kind, have failed again and again to find any real link between eating MSG and those reported symptoms. The science is really clear on this. For the overwhelming majority of us, MSG is safe.
So with its name scientifically cleared, MSG's story is entering a brand new and pretty fascinating chapter. It's going from being this feared additive to becoming a really valuable tool for public health.
And here's why that is. We all know that eating too much salt, too much sodium, is a huge health concern worldwide. Well, just look at this. Regular table salt is about 39% sodium. MSG, on the other hand, is only about 12% sodium. That's less than a third.
So, because MSG brings all that savory umami goodness, you can make food taste just as satisfying, but with way less sodium. In fact, research shows that by using a bit of MSG, companies can cut the sodium in their products by up to 40%. And people don't even notice a change in taste. That is a potential game changer for public health.
So the science has cleared its name, and it's got a new public health mission. It's probably no surprise then that MSG is making a huge comeback on the world stage. The future is looking, well, pretty flavorful.
And the money backs it up. The global market for MSG is growing steadily, set to jump from over $6 billion in 2025 to more than $9 billion by 2032. What's driving this? Well, it's our growing appetite for processed foods, the huge popularity of Asian cuisines, and of course, its new role in cutting down on salt.
So where is all this MSG going? No big shock here, its biggest use is in stuff like instant noodles, soups, and broths, foods that really need that deep, savory kick. But it's also a key player in meat products, all kinds of seasonings, and a ton of different snacks. It's really become a cornerstone of the modern food industry.
You know, the story of MSG is a really powerful example of how easily fear can run wild and just completely overshadow solid science. It went from being a celebrated discovery to a total villain, and now all the way back again. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If we could get this one so wrong for so long, what other things we believe about our food might be worth a second look?
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more How Meets History.